AITA for breaking a promise and attending my stepdaughter's graduation? I'll start by explaining some backstory. I, 54M, lost my first wife when my son, 25M, and daughter, 22F, were ages 9 and 12. Both my kids took it as hard as you would expect and to this day have a poor relationship with both my current wife Doreen, 49F, and my stepdaughter Amy, 18F. I started dating Doreen about 4 months after my first wife passed. As such, my kids believe I cheated on their mom. Amy was 5 when we got together, and as such I see her as my own daughter. On to the actual story. 4 years ago, 2 days before Kay's high school graduation, Amy got very ill while visiting her grandparents and ended up needing emergency surgery. My wife and I rushed to be with Amy, and admittedly I did not communicate well with Kay. At the time Kay didn't pick up my calls, so I left her a voicemail and several text messages explaining what happened and telling Kay I was sorry but I would make it up to her. A few hours go by and I get a call from Kay. She is in hysterics telling me what a terrible father I am and stated that if I did not attend her graduation I would be dead to her. I chose to support Amy. True to her words, Kay did not contact me on the day of her graduation, and when came home Kay's things had been moved out of the house with a note explaining that we were no longer family and to never contact her again. Luckily Kay and I were able to reconcile. However, I promised her I would give her absolutely anything in the world to make her forgive me. She said that she would forgive me as long as I refused to attend Amy's graduation, as this was the only way to make it fair. I agreed at the time, thinking she was just joking or angry and would soon forget. This leads me to now. Invitations for Amy's graduation went out, and despite all the hostility Amy wanted to make sure Kay got one. Kay called Amy later that day and said she would be unable to attend as she and I would be spending the day together per our agreement. Amy broke down into tears asking me why I was missing her graduation. I assured her I was not and that I would speak to Kay. Later I explained to Kay that I simply could not miss Amy's graduation. Kay launched into a tirade about how I was a liar and an asshole and how I could do this to her again. I told her that we would talk when she calmed down, and she said we would never talk again. My son and several of our extended family have all taken Kay's side, saying I didn't see how hurt she was at graduation. My wife believes I am the asshole for even promising that in the first place, as I should have known it would only upset one or both girls. And Amy is just sad and confused, wondering why Kay hates her. I know keeping my promise and not attending Amy's graduation is probably the only way to salvage my relationship with Kay, but no matter how I look at it, I would feel like I'm punishing Amy for having a medical issue. So am I the asshole? Edit to add some relevant info. I never cheated on my first wife. Your accusations are honestly tiring and disgusting. Amy's bio father was never in her life. I am not Amy's biological father. That wasn't ever even in question, as we are not the same race. Amy had appendicitis. She was staying over 4 hours away at her grandparents' house. At the time that we left, the only info Doreen's mother would give us was that she passed out and wouldn't wake up. My daughter was moved out of our house for about a month and a half, after which we made up and she returned to live with us for another 2 years before going away to school. I did not believe Kay when she said she wanted me to miss Amy's graduation, as it seemed like a ridiculous request. Despite what you all may believe, our relationship was fine after this event. We were in near daily contact and she would frequently visit us. Verdict: you are the asshole. Relevant comments from OP. On the original incident concerning Kay's graduation, Amy ended up having to get an emergency appendectomy, but at the time was visiting her grandparents about a 4-hour drive from where we lived. Her grandmother didn't give us too much relevant information before we left, just that she had passed out and wouldn't wake up. On the way there we didn't know her condition or anything because her grandmother is a non-native English speaker and didn't understand a lot of the medical terms. Once we got there and signed off on the surgery, she ended up needing an additional 2 days in the hospital and wanted both of us by her side. During this time I repeatedly called and texted both my mother and son who were planning to attend the ceremony. I had every intention of video calling so that I could still support her, but she told everyone she didn't want me to be a part of it. OP on his marriage to his second wife and his children's relationship with her. I didn't immediately move in with Doreen and Amy once we started dating. We dated for over 2 years before we moved in together. My wife's death was not a sudden thing. She battled cancer on and off for years before she passed. My children already were comfortable with Doreen as she was my late wife's best friend, so I thought they would enjoy having her around more. I offered both children grief counseling. My son took me up on it, and I took Kay to a few sessions, but she would kick, scream, cry every time I took her. Finally, the counselor decided that forcing her before she was ready would only worsen her grief. I offered her therapy many times over the years, but she never took me up on it. Now on to the update. I wasn't sure if I wanted to post an update after the reaction I got last time. I can stomach death threats against myself, but directing such hatred toward my children was truly disturbing. But the graduation has come and gone, and I thought I should share how it all went down. I'm sure most of you will be displeased. Amy was mad at me for a few days, but we have a strong bond and she quickly got over it. The saint that she is said she would understand if I wanted to miss it to make it up to Kay. I told her I wouldn't do that to her and reassured her that she has done nothing wrong. As for the elephant in the room, Kay. She and my son live in the same city and work in the same field, so they're as close as ever. My son and his partner were giving her a lot of emotional support at this time. In the end, she decided not to attend Amy's graduation but sent flowers and a card with my son. There were a lot of nasty messages directed toward her, which I feel is completely unacceptable. She isn't mean or vindictive. She is a smart, very kind, very empathetic woman. She made a bizarre ultimatum as a confused and hurt teenager. I certainly don't think that makes her a bad person. I know all of you seem to think I hate my children, but the amount of pain I feel at the deterioration of my relationship with my daughter is unexplainable. I've been on and off antidepressants since the death of my wife, and at my therapist's suggestion will be going back on them. It's taking all of my willpower not to reach out to her again, but I've already disrespected her wishes enough. She can choose to reach out to me when and if she ever wants to again, and I'll be waiting. I know it's not the most impactful update, and I'm sure most of you wanted to see me left miserable and alone. But I don't live my life for anyone else's entertainment. I can accept that I'm the asshole. Maybe I'm an asshole in general, but I'm not some evil monster that you all want me to be. I'm a man that made the mistake of sharing his problems with the internet. A mistake I won't be making again. I probably won't delete this account, but I'm not gonna be updating in the future. Goodbye. Comments. Look OP, I get that you're human, just a man, but you can't get away with the mistakes you've made because you make the same ones over and over again. I don't understand trolls and stupid people with the death threats or nasty messages about your kids. It's wrong and disgusting. The only issue here is you. The fact that you claim to love Kay and how it is breaking your heart that she wants nothing to do with you is your own fault. Every mistake you made and repeated always seems to be against her. I don't actually think you care about Kay all that much, as you still have Amy. Now you've decided, oh well, I've fucked up again and made so many mistakes, I'll just leave her alone and not confront the fact you failed her as a supportive father. Own it. Change your damn ways. Believe me, You're not the worst dad out there, but you are a shitty one to K. When will you wake up and realize without the self-pity that you have to be the one to make amends? Why on earth would she contact you? Do you not care that one day she will get married and you won't be invited to the wedding or even to walk her down the aisle? When she has her first child and you find out through the grapevine instead of being a grandpa, maybe one day she will forgive you. But not if your solution is to just give her space. Seems to me she had a lot of space from you already. All she wanted was your time and sole attention for a bit, and you've never been able to give her that. I feel for both your son and daughter because it seems you have a favorite and you don't care as long as Amy is okay. Let me guess and say your wife thinks it's best to give her the space? Amy may be a nice girl, but I bet your wife has encouraged your behavior. It's honestly sad.